Welcome to the NRT Now podcast, giving you the latest in Christian music news, topics, and artist interviews directly from the largest Christian music site online, newreleasetoday.com. Now, here's your host, Jake.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to episode 22. Hey, we appreciate you just taking the time to hang out with us for a little bit here. And if you haven't already, make sure that you are subscribed or you're following, depending on what your favorite platform is, so you can know when a new episode is out. But we, like I said, we just appreciate that you listening and just spending some time with us here. And just a couple things before we get into the episode that I want to talk about real quick. First is the We Love Christian Music Awards. Our live show is coming out in, I want to say 2 weeks now, pretty close. And I'm very excited. Like, this is my first one that I get to be at live. I'm taking a quick little plane ride over to Memphis, and I get to be there this year. So I'm very excited. There is an awesome lineup. We've announced some live performers. Meredith Andrews is hosting this year. So we're really excited about what's in store. So the link will be down in the show notes here. So make sure you have that pre-saved and you're notified when that happens. It's going to be awesome, guys. One thing that we talked about last episode is we still have a couple things that we're excited to announce just down the road here, but I can say that we are moving to Wednesdays. So all of our new episodes will be coming out on Wednesday. So whether that means you have something awesome to listen to on the way to youth group, or, just to kill those midweek blues on the way to work, I'm open. But we're moving to Wednesday, so we're very excited about that. And so this episode is called Down the Aisle because in my conversation with Hannah Kerr, which we'll hear in just a couple minutes here, we talked quite a bit about her wedding that's coming up in March, which is, not too long from now. I saved this conversation for this week just because of the romance involved. I think one of the best times to talk about a wedding is over Valentine's Day. Love is in the air. Woohoo. So I talked with Hannah in December, so we'll hear a little bit about Christmas, but I saved this conversation for now for that. And something cool that's coming out this week is the NRT team is putting together a Valentine's playlist, and it's including some mainstream artists, some Christian artists. We're just putting together a 2020 Valentine's Day playlist, and just to kind of highlight a few people that are from the Christian side that are going to be on it. Mac Powell has a song called Red on a Rose, which I absolutely love. I'm not the biggest fan of country personally, but I love Mac Powell and his new album and stuff. So Red on a Rose is a great one. And so we have The Color with the song The Kind of Man. One of my friends, Skylar Kalin, May I Have This Dance. She's a Christian artist. She's on the road with Bretta Stone. We heard from them a while back. Stars Go Dim for Worse or Better. And Stars Go Dim is going to be at the We Love Christian Music Awards. So I think they're actually nominated for one, if I remember correctly. And then we have Torrin Wells, Love's Worth the Fight. So that's coming out very shortly. Be on the lookout for that. And so, like I said, it's a mix between mainstream and Christian. And I love that because, although, we're talking about Christian music, I think, putting Christian music and mainstream music in the same context really says a lot about the artistry about Christian music. And I just don't think that we need to be afraid of listening to mainstream music. Obviously we need to be careful about what we consume and what songs we let get stuck in our head that we keep singing and that almost we start believing. But I also think that, we can listen to mainstream music along with Christian music and we'll be all right. I think we'll still keep our salvation. So I really like the list that's coming out. So be on the lookout for that. And so this conversation with Hannah Kerr, as I was listening to it back again, it was a lot of fun. I caught her on the K-Love Christmas tour at the beginning of December. So there's some, Christmas stuff in there, and it's February, and it's still way too early for Christmas by about 10 and a half months. So there's a little bit of Christmassy stuff there, but, we talk a bit about her wedding and how her and her fiance are growing on the path to marriage. And of course, we do a little bit of wedding planning because, hey, who doesn't like to do that? It's fun. But we also talk about some of the struggles as a young person coming up and out and coming into the world. And I just got to talk with her a little bit about her perspective on that. Those days are a ways behind me and getting more and more distant, much to my dismay. But it's really great to hear her perspective on coming out of that and just speaking the lives of our young girls, our young women. So I'm very excited for you to hear this episode. I say that every week or every episode, and I mean it every episode. So this one is absolutely no different. So let's hear from Hannah Kerr. Hey, Hannah, thanks for hanging out with us for a bit.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So you are on the Caleb Christmas tour right now.
Yes.
Having fun, or too early for Christmas yet? Or
No, I'm in the Christmas spirit. We've been deep in the Christmas spirit since rehearsals started in November. So it's been so fun.
That seems like it's too early.
That is an argument that some could make, but I'm okay with Christmas in July. I'm one of those people.
I don't know if we should continue this. I don't know if I can do this.
You're like, you know what? I don't think we can do this anymore. That's the end of the interview.
Yep. Thanks for your time. We'll see you later.
Awesome.
So this is what stop are we on here in Dallas?
This is stop number 4 of the tour.
Oh, so just getting started.
Just getting started, but we have had, a total of maybe 9 shows because we rehearsed so much.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, this is a really short tour, so it's kind of sad that we're actually almost halfway through.
Wow, that's incredible already.
I know.
4 shows.
It's crazy.
And so you just released Winter Wonderland
just
a few weeks ago, or maybe I'm getting my time mixed up.
Yeah.
Probably am.
So I released my full Christmas album last year. In Winter Wonderland, we just released a new video a couple weeks ago.
I see.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the focus track this year, I guess. Okay. But yeah, it's so fun. This whole album that I made last year was the most fun album I had ever made. I just love Christmas. I love jazz music, and being able to kind of put those two things together was really special.
Isn't jazz just kind of almost a dying art by this point? It seems like it.
It does seem like it for sure. And that was one of the big reasons why I really wanted it to be featured on my album. I grew up a jazz music fan because my grandfather was so into jazz. And so he would always say, like, Hannah, come listen to Ella Fitzgerald. And of course I fell in love with her voice. And anyways, I just grew up loving it. And so I thought, what feels like Christmas to me? Listening to jazz music, sitting by the fire, all those things. So I've tried to put that into my album.
She's not a Christian artist, but there's a gal by the name of Emmeline, I think is who it is.
Oh,
and
cool.
She has that deep kind of old soulful kind of crooner voice.
No
and she's
way.
Doing a lot of that kind of stuff and bringing a lot of that kind of music back.
Cool.
I think she was featured on Postmodern Jukebox a couple of times.
Wow, I'll have to look her up. That's really cool.
I mean, it's just that window from an era past. And
totally.
It's incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to look her up.
Yeah.
So cool.
So I was reading a little bit, and the Jordan Felice tour, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
The
Faith Tour. It was saying that it was the first tour that you've had that you were music full time and not student and musician at the full time.
Yes.
What has that kind of transition been like for you?
It's been very freeing in so many ways. For the past 4 years, I've been trying to be a full-time college student and a full-time touring musician, which those two things don't go very well together. And so for me, being able to just focus on music full-time, knowing that I completed my degree, that season of my life is over, and I'm very thankful for it. But now I just feel like I'm ready to go with music. I have so many exciting things ahead. I know that God has just begun this journey, and I'm ready to be on it full-time. So it was so fun, and I just enjoyed every moment of it for real.
That's awesome. And so something else new this year is you're sporting a little bit of hardware, I see.
Yes. I just got engaged in May, which I guess is 7 months ago now. Time is flying by.
Is it? Holy cow, I just remember that announcement like yesterday.
Yeah, seriously, it's crazy. So my fiance Jason and I are getting married in March. Yes, he's in the room right now.
Yes. I wasn't going to assume, but
Yes, that's him.
Didn't want to make it weird.
I know the listeners can't see him, but trust me, he's really handsome.
I would say something in that, but that'd just be weird.
Yeah,
I think.
okay, cool. You don't have to agree with me.
Well, I can agree with you. I'm just not going to say it out loud.
Cool. So yeah, we're getting married in March. We're really excited. And he comes on the road with me full time. And so that's been really fun to have him. The Faith Tour is also his first tour with me. And so it's been awesome to get to do this together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, you have the date set in March.
Yep.
So what's this journey been like? You have Thanksgiving that you've kind of starting that whole process, Christmas, but, not only trying to start that integration with the families and all that, but just the kind of the transition overall. What's that been like in the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good, so good in a lot of ways. It's been hard too. I mean, I think any big life change comes with, a lot of changing feelings and it's hard to grasp change, but the thing is, it's such good change. For my family, it's like we're gaining a family member, we're gaining a family with Jason's family, and I think their family definitely looks at it the same way as well. And so any moments that are hard where it feels like, oh, things are changing so fast, it's just good overall, because it's such a beautiful picture of community and love and adoption, and it's great. So we're excited. It has been hard in some ways, but I'm ready to be married, and I'm really excited that I'm getting married to Jason. So
not only just getting married, but getting married to Jason, which is also a good thing since he's
totally. Yeah, for sure. I'm not excited to get married to anybody else, so that's probably a good thing.
Well, and that's awesome to hear, because that's one of the things that's been awesome for me is just the integration of our in-laws, and we're quite a few years more down the road than that. Yeah. I'll say it. We're 14 years down the road in that one.
Congratulations.
I'm getting old. Like, this is ridiculous. But, just having the families integrate and, not having that tension is just an amazing feeling. And I'll definitely brag on my in-laws for that one. It's been
awesome.
Incredible. I am one of the family. If I go back up home
good.
Without my wife, I always stay at their house. Like it never feels weird. It never feels like it's, what's the word I'm looking for? It never feels like it's a burden to them. It's something that you have to tolerate, like whatever. It's my wife's husband, whatever.
Totally.
So that's really awesome to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, how do I say this without being too invasive? What has been kind of the hardest, and what's been kind of the biggest thing that you guys have been working on getting to this point of, the marriage and just uniting the families, and not just families, but yourselves as well? Yeah.
I think probably the hardest thing in any relationship is knowing that you come from two totally different backgrounds and totally different lives, different family structures, and that kind of stuff. You have these expectations of what your life is going to look like, and you probably want it to mirror maybe what your life looked like growing up. At least that's my experience. And so any hard things that we've had to work through are really just the process of joining together as one and finding our own way, finding our own traditions, and just communicating about that, saying like, these are the expectations that I've carried, these are the expectations that you've carried, and how can we meet in the middle, try to compromise through those expectations, but also carry them into our own relationship. And so I think that's probably been the hardest thing, is just managing our expectations and being good at communicating, because communication is key. I've had so many people tell me that. I mean, just being on the road, I think everyone every night's like, oh, congrats on getting engaged. Can't wait to hear all about your wedding. Communication is key. So I think for us, that's kind of been the main thing, is just managing expectations and communicating well. So we're still learning, but we have been together for 4 years. So we've done a lot of work over the years to try to manage that.
Not to join on that bandwagon, but I mean, the communication, I mean, that even 14 years in, that still kills us every once in a while.
I mean, because you kind of just hope that the person that loves you the most can read your mind, but spoiler alert, they can't.
I can't read her mind.
Exactly. Even if you know them better than anyone else in the world, you still got to let them know how you feel. So, this has been Relationship Talk with Hannah Kerr.
Talk that's the key one.
Yeah, totally.
We've talked a little bit about the relational side. Tell us a little bit about the wedding. Let's do a little bit of wedding planning here.
Totally, yeah. So the wedding's been super fun to plan. I think a lot of people are like, how are you planning a wedding on the road? But actually, wedding planning has been not stressful for us. It's been really great. I think just remembering, like, the wedding is a really special day, but what we're really excited about is being married to each other. And so even if stuff goes wrong, which another thing someone has told me every night is something's going to go wrong on your wedding day.
100%.
So, we're just expecting that at this point. But no, so we are getting married at this place. It's really beautiful. It's in Franklin, Tennessee. And we're having our colors as blue and green. I have 8 bridesmaids. Jason has 7 groomsmen. I know. We asked everyone we know to be in our wedding.
I can't even imagine.
I know. I just have a hard time narrowing it down, and I just wanted to make the most important people in my life feel special. So I just invited a lot of people. But it's going to be really special. All of our families will be there. It's, 150 people. So it's not a huge wedding, not a small wedding, kind of just
half of them are up front.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be good. We're really excited. And then obviously we're going on a honeymoon after that. So, and we're not going to a tropical place. We're going to the mountains somewhere. So it'll be good.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Mountains are awesome. I grew up around the mountains.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Me too. I think it's going to be really fun. So
I will say, Jason, always remember that there's cameras everywhere. No matter what you do, like there's always cameras, something going on. I learned that one the hard way. I'm passing that on.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Although we are kind of used to that because while we're on the road, we are both living with my parents. So Jason lives in my brother's high school bedroom. I live in my high school bedroom.
Wow.
My parents have cameras everywhere in their house. So they trust us 100%, but they're just really concerned about security, obviously, all of a sudden.
Trust but verify.
Yes. So we're used to it at this point. But
I remember my wife was trying on dresses. She was narrowing it down to, I think, 3 or 4 of them. And she picked from that. I didn't get to see the final one, but she kind of gave a general.
Yeah.
And as we were picking out bridesmaids dresses, they were like, here, try this with tux. And well, let's just say the picture didn't turn out too flattering for me.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, cameras everywhere. It's
cameras everywhere.
Words to live by.
Yes, it's good. It's good advice.
So, no, that's exciting, and
yeah,
I vaguely remember those days. Like, vaguely, it's becoming more and more of a distant memory. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so in your Overcome EP?
Overflow. Yes. Close.
One thing that we've learned in this podcast is that we have no idea what album titles are. We just come, as long as we're close.
I can barely remember my own album titles, so you're good.
So you're talking a little bit about how just that transition from you released your first album at 18?
Yeah, and
18,
Overflow
19?
was my first album that I released at 18. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, we've established that we're terrible at album titles. Your latest album it's called
Listen More.
Listen More, that's right.
Yes.
I was listening to it on the way here and I even messed it up.
Hey, that's okay. As long as you listen, I appreciate it.
So you're talking about a journey of going from, when you first started releasing your albums to, going through your time at college and, and kind of coming out of that. Tell us a little bit more about kind of that journey.
Sure. So I feel like for me, going to college was such a crucial step in my relationship with the Lord and understanding my calling and knowing who I am. And really the Listen More EP that I just put out is all about that journey. It's all about figuring out that sometimes we go through really tough seasons, and sometimes that's where God shows himself the most. That's been my experience. When I was in college, I went through some hard seasons of anxiety and sleeplessness and just having some doubts and questions that I hadn't had before in my life. And so in that time, I really had to lean into the Lord and say, all right, what do you have to say about these questions in my heart? What do you have to say about these doubts? Because you're not scared of them, so I'm going to share them with you. And in that time, I just found myself listening more and more to what God was saying. And the more I listened, the more peace I felt. The more I understood his plan for my life, the more confident I felt in who I am. And so really all the songs are just about that season of coming out of a tough time and moving into a time of joy where I'm confident in what God has for me. I'm confident in who he's made me to be. So yeah, it's been really special and not easy, but definitely worth it. And I'm really thankful looking back.
And it seems like I said, I'm aging myself. I'm not that far down the road, but like the more and more it goes, like it seems like I am getting old. My wife is looking at my gray hairs, the couple that I have, and just pointing them out. So I'm very appreciative of that. Yeah. So it just seems like it's so tough in this generation that's coming out of high school and going into college and all that. Seems like it's a whole different world and a whole bunch of different struggles than what I dealt with when I came out of college and started my journey into adulthood.
For sure. It's crazy just how fast life moves and how quickly things change. I mean, I've been thinking about so much lately, just like social media and how much our phones are affecting our communication. And, that's a whole different topic, but it's just things are changing so fast. I mean, even people who go through high school now, like I've only been out of high school for 5 years, but their high school experience is different than the one that I had, which is crazy.
Well, I mean, it's crazy. When I was in high school, we had cell phones and that was it.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that they do now.
And they
like,
called people and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when texting started being a huge thing.
Yeah.
And when it was like paper message and
Yep,
a couple
I
of bad
remember.
calls from my parents about really?
Yeah.
Really?
You sent how many text messages this month? Who are you talking to?
And when I was first started college, my dad paid for my cell phone, was kind of his contribution. And at a certain point, he's like, nope, I'll send you a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And that's about it. 'Cause
Yep.
it started down that way pretty bad. So I remember that. And now, I mean, what can't we see on our phones anymore? I
So
mean, what
true.
can't we see? And I think someone said it best, and I can't remember who it was, but said, no, it was actually one of our next gen pastors. He was saying, I'm going to butcher this if I say it, try and quote him directly, but
Paraphrase.
paraphrase, Cliff Notes, saying that kids have all the access to knowledge, but need help interpreting it.
Yeah,
need the
that's
people
so
to
true.
interpret it.
That's so true.
When, like I said, when I was coming out of high school, the internet was starting to get to be a big thing,
Yeah.
but it was still very much in its kind of infancy. It was still dial up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you even know what dial up is.
I do. We had that when I was a kid, so.
But it's just crazy, just the amount of knowledge that you can get right now,
Yeah.
as opposed to, how do you interpret it? What does that mean? What does that actually do for me in life?
Well, and I would say too, like that's a huge inspiration behind this EP as well is, we can feel so bombarded by voices and messages and be this, do this, act like this, look like this. And at the end of the day, like that's not really what matters. Like we need to be listening to God's voice. We need to be seeking him instead of seeking, likes on Instagram or looking a certain way. And that's so easy to do in this day and age is get, just bombarded by voices and get lost in them. I think that's the thing about young people now is just there's so many people telling them who they should be and how they should act. And it's confusing. I totally understand that. It's confusing,
And I think that's always been there. I was actually talking about this with my wife, we're talking about like mom shaming and some of those things. I mean, I think to a certain degree, a lot of that kind of stuff has always been there.
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately will always be there.
Yeah.
But it's really changed with like what you're saying with social media and just expectations that you have in youth, both politically. I mean, political has been a huge thing that's been coming up. Like I said, social media, with the likes, and the approval and all that kind of stuff. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed dramatically. Like it's always been there to a certain degree, but it's changed. And I think it's a little bit more in your face these days
so I was
than
gonna
it
say
has
it's at
been.
the forefront for sure. Like we can't escape it really unless we just never engage in social media or the internet, which is pretty much impossible.
It
in
is
today's
impossible
day.
by this point.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter, it's not going to be long before she's 8 right now, and it's not going to be long before she's going to have to use the internet for school and all that. So, I mean, we kind of limit her to Facebook and just seeing or YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very cautious of what we let her see, but
For sure.
But I mean, it's not going to be long before we have to kind of open that gate and have her look for information or do research for papers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
And so talking about my daughter, I was telling her that I was coming to see this, and she's kind of like, my wife, she does great with songs. Like, oh yeah, I've heard that, but she has no idea who they are.
Yeah, I
it's
get
a
it.
constant battle. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to who so and so, and she's like, who?
Yeah, I'm the same way because I think sometimes you just like listen to the radio and you know the song, you can sing the song, but you may not know who it's by. I totally am the same way. Guilty.
So I was playing some of the music, and my daughter lights up, and she's like, I hear that on the radio. Like I hear this all the time.
So sweet. I love that.
So it's awesome to see that, and it's been a little while since I've been a little girl, and I'm kidding.
It's been forever, actually.
Yeah, I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
So what would you say to the little girls that are kind of growing up, starting to enter this range?
Totally. So it's funny, like I think a lot of times the people who come up to me after shows, it's mostly little girls. That like 8 to 16 range is kind of like the sweet spot of the people who love my music, which I love so much.
Yeah.
And I think for me, just just reminding them over and over and over that their worth is found in Christ and that we need to be digging into him and who he says we are. It's so hard to be a little girl in today's world. It's so hard because you're just bombarded with people saying, be skinny, be pretty, be desirable, be lovable, all these things. But we are already so loved by the creator of the universe. And I think, my parents were so good about reminding me of that daily, reminding me that it's not about, the shallow things the world tries to make us think about. It's about what God says. And he says that we're a child of him, that we're adopted as sons and daughters, and that we're worth that. And so I always just try to speak identity into them. If they ever have any questions, I just try to say, your worth comes from God. You're so worth loving. Like, you're amazing. And I think too, that God can have dreams that can spur dreams on in our hearts from that young of an age. I remember being 5 years old and singing my first song in church and thinking, man, it'd be cool to be a singer someday, you know? And so I think just encouraging their dreams and saying, if God has something in your heart, he's got it there for a reason. And you just have to, practice. If you're trying to do music, just practice. If you're trying to do art, practice, grow your gift and allow God to cultivate that in your life. So yeah, those are the two things, just encouraging them to have their identity in Christ and then trying to figure out what the gifts are that God's placed in their lives and then developing them.
As we kind of head towards the end here, I'd like to talk, just kind of go back to the family thing a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember most about a Hannah Kerr show was you were here a couple of years ago at a festival at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah,
at a racetrack.
Yeah.
Which I have to say I'm insensitive to by this point because my office is actually trackside.
Oh, wow.
At that place.
That's
so
awesome. That place was cool.
Most of the time. It is. But I'm so numb to it. They'll start running cars on a random Tuesday and I'm like, really? We're doing this again. But one of the things I think with that show, I remember your brother came and played guitar for you on that one. And it was just a very stripped down, just very simple show. But I think you really filled that, not only the stage, but I think that was one of my favorite performances of the night, just because it was just so stripped down. I mean, it was just authentic. You could tell that you actually kind of like your brother at least, a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's a huge compliment. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And just so the listeners, Toby Mac was on that tour, which he always throws a good tour on that festival.
Yeah.
But he always does a good show. Loving the Outcome was there. I mean, that was an incredible, festival at that one.
It really was, for sure.
So.
Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, my brother Michael played guitar with me for the past 3.5 years. We traveled together, toured together, everything. I mean, it was so much fun. He's one of my best friends in the world, and I'm not just saying that. We have been best friends our whole lives. And so, yeah, that was so fun. I mean, sometimes being an opener, you don't get to have the big band or the big lights or, sometimes that can feel oh man, I'm at a disadvantage. But to me, it's always such an honor because I just get to go up there and sing my songs and connect with people. And I can't hide behind anything. I can't hide behind lights or good production. It's no, it's just me. And I hope that we connect in that moment. So to hear that you felt that is really cool. I really appreciate that. And it's just a blessing to be able to get to do what I do. I mean, I'm just really thankful for any opportunity, and I'm going to do my best regardless of, what I'm given to work with. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear you at the show tonight.
Thanks.
And, we just thank you for coming to hang out with us for a little bit. And we're excited to see the pictures from the wedding. And speaking of Instagram likes,
I know. Trust me, there's going to be a lot of pictures. So you might want to unfollow me after a little bit.
Or at least turn the notifications off.
Exactly. Yes, totally.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you so much.